In today's 5-Minute Gardener, this time of year, we're looking for easy ways to keep our patio looking beautiful. Plants that require less water and maybe less attention, and yet give us the splash of color we're looking for. Our 5-Minute Gardener, Debbie Mounce from Harlow Gardens, has some ideas.
Okay, one of the newest trends, or well, it's been around for a few years anyway, is outdoor rooms in gardening. And really what that means is creating a living space, a really comfortable living space outside. They're doing things with doors as accents in the garden and just all kinds of really fun things. Well, one of the main areas in your outdoor room would be your seating area. And we all want to have something really lovely sitting on the table at our seating areas, either at a side table or at a coffee table type setting. All of those things really make our space personal. Now in Tucson, of course, sometimes it's a little tough to get some of those really flowery things to do really well in those smaller pots. So I have an alternative here. These are little succulent bowls, and they're really, really lovely. They're a nice accent piece in the garden, in your outdoor room, on a shelf, wherever you have a space for them. They really are interesting. You plant these, and these are planted, as you can see. We have rocks in them, and we have a lot of different varieties of succulents in them. And that is the key to success when planning on planting a succulent pot. Look at the succulents as textures. Plant them for their texture. You have some that are pointy, some that are round, some that are flat, some that are tall. That's what makes it interesting. And also, don't be afraid to put some rocks in the pot for added interest. Also, kind of to take up space. It looks like a little desert scene. Anyway, so once you plant these, be sure and use cactus soil for the soil mix in here. And these guys can take morning sun. They will have to have afternoon shade. And you water them 2 times, maybe 3 times a week is all you have to water them. You don't have to get out there every day. All right, enjoy those succulent pots. Thank you for coming today.
Now, what's the difference between the desert soil you talked about and just regular potting soil?
Well, regular potting soil is going to be richer. It's going to be more kind of an old-fashioned word, kind of loamy. It's going to hold a lot more moisture around those roots, whereas the desert soil is going to have very fast drainage, the cactus soil. So what that does is it means it gives those roots a good drink, but it doesn't hold any extra water. It lets it just pass right on through the pot. You'll find soils that'll have sand or extra rocks. Sometimes one of the ones we have has oyster shells in it, so that just helps kind of move that water right on through.
And one of the really cool things about these plants that you've brought is that they are so different in texture and shape. They're architecturally, if you will, interesting.
Yes, yes, and they're structurally interesting.
Yes.
Each one has its own little personality, you know, which is wonderful. And I tried to get a few today that actually had a little bit of color on them. And all of your succulents are going to bloom at some point. Some of your succulents will put off, you know, they'll have this little tiny plant here and put this long flower and this little flower in color right at the top that kind of dances above the plant. It's just absolutely delightful. It's wonderful. And we were looking at this one earlier, which is so strange. I don't know how well you can see that. It kind of looks almost Asian or something
it really
in its form and its color and texture.
And that's called a propeller plant.
Yes, its common name is propeller plant. And there's a bunch of aloes in here. There's one that's very similar to this. This isn't it, but I love it because it's called the drunkard's path because it kind of goes every which way. So that's one of my favorites. This is a little tiny opuntia, or which is really in the prickly pear family. Opuntias are found in many parts of the world. A lot of these succulents are from South Africa, Mexico, Central and South America, a few from Australia. All of the more arid parts of the world have wonderful and interesting succulents.
And before we run out of time, tell us about this fun little gadget.
This is a tool that we have at the nursery. We've had these for I'm not sure how many years, but this is actually a fish hook remover. And what this does is This really helps in handling these little guys.
Yeah, so you don't get
use
stuck.
this instead of using your hands.
I love it. And you can
helps.
get that at a bait and tackle shop.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Thank you, Debbie.
You're very welcome.
All right.